Welcome back to our NuWave 5D Living YouTube channel. And today we have another very interesting follow-up question for you that we asked the collective of one in one of our channeling sessions. And it's all about 5D living. Vishnupriya and Aristo, one of the co-founders of NuWave Leadership, is going to read the next question for us, and I'm going to read what the collective of one actually responded to the question. So let's jump right in. Vishnupriya, over to you.
Yes, so this again was another beautiful 3D follow-up question, a 3D question as I would like to call it, because I might not ask this question now because I have shifted a lot after this answer. So here comes my 3D question. So the question is, how can we transform? How can we change our negative thoughts and emotions, right? So that is where I was, and now when I look back at myself, I'm kind of laughing at myself. I'm like, oh wow, that's where I was, right? Because the entire journey, almost 5 years plus, through the holistic healing and through all the wellness, industry teaches us, the entire story was for me trying to find how do I get rid of these negative thoughts and emotions. It's so wrong. So I was functioning from it so wrong to have these. How do I get rid of it and permanently be in a positive state, because that is what is right. That is what is perfect. That was my mindset back then. So let's see how this answer transformed me. Over to you, Sabrina.
Yes, let's go for it. So, here's the answer by the collective of one. Well, first of all, when you come to a place where you see that it is just part of a natural process and there's not really any deeper meaning, any right or wrong, any judgment or something like that around it, then it gets easier to look at it from a sort of neutral space. Neutral, grateful space where you can begin to see the beauty in the process, where it's like, oh, okay, this is a thought I'm having right now. And since I'm having this thought, how can I make it feel lighter? How can I make it less sticky and contaminated? What would help me in this specific moment at this specific point in time? Because, the humans usually think in those categories. How can I make it flow? How can I make it something else or purify it energetically rather than this heavy, sticky, contaminated thing? So, again, what this shows is that in all the diversity that energy is, also not just one approach, there's also not just one approach to solving something. There can be basics that you teach everyone, but every bunch of energy will need a little of their own specific approach based on how they manifest. And here there was an interruption in the session due to very loud construction noises in the house where I was staying at that point. So I was like kicked out of the session. Then we reconnected. And here's the follow up kind of, Vishnupriya then asked, like, is there anything you would like to add? And here's what the collective of one said. What we feel is important for you to really understand in this whole process is that the more you can connect to the idea that you are just energy and everything that is happening is just a natural process, the more you can look at it from a place of total awe. And you know how beautiful it truly is when you look at it from that perspective. The easier it will be to succeed at the so called healing that you are mentioning. So, Vishnupriya, what's your thoughts around this
Wow.
answer?
Again, each of these answers, it's like, ooh, how it beautifully flows. And it's like, okay, wake up, totally new perspective, totally, from a new perspective that you can look at the world and yourself as well. So in my case, what came to me after listening to this answer was that, oh yeah, that's right. Why do we? Because it's all natural. That's what the answer says. It's natural. It's part of the game. Being a human, we are designed with negative thoughts, the so-called negative thoughts, or in other words, we are designed with anger, sadness, and life itself is also very, very dramatic, right? It has all its ups and downs. That's how the game itself is designed. And that's how humans are designed to think all the different variation of thoughts, right? From the extreme negativity to the extreme positivity, we have this whole range of freedom that this design provides us to think any type of thoughts, to feel any type of emotions. But it's just that we have put different labels, that this is negative and this is positive, this is right and that's not right, to feel all these negative thoughts and emotions. And one interesting example that came to me was between me and my baby, as an example. So, my baby, for example, feels negative emotions, right? He cries when he wants to, have milk. If he's hungry, he might be crying. If he feels uncomfortable, he might be crying. The only difference is that he might not have a perspective that it's wrong to cry, or that it's negative emotion, that I'm feeling sadness, or any of that. Maybe he's maybe angry at times, which I might not be even noticing, as an example. Versus when I feel those emotions, if I sit and cry for a day, or even for a few minutes, that would become such a big story for me, right? You know what? Oh, this interesting emotion, I started crying. Oh no. Now it feels interesting. But it's such, we look at it with so much deep meaning in it, that I was not supposed to cry, but guess what? The life was so bad that I had to cry. All that story that we attach to it, right? If we can just let go, when that emotion of cry comes in, let yourself cry. When you feel anger, just feel angry. If you want to take few moments, just sit idly, not doing anything, just do that. It's more, what I see is we have put too many deeper meanings, and that's one word that really stands out for me in this answer. And you will see in some of our follow-up questions in upcoming sessions, we had asked more about this thing of deeper meaning and what's the significance, because you will see COO kind of helping us understand how much of significance that we have given to all parts of life and all parts of ourselves. All right. So, therefore, the major transformation was just letting myself feel any thoughts, any thoughts or any emotions or whatever the outer world throws at me, giving myself the full freedom to feel at the moment whatever it feels like. And from a deeper within me, I'm simply observing. Let's say I'm sitting and crying, as an example. I feel that there is two parts of me. One part of me which is actually crying, and there's also kind of the inner observer part of me that is observing me that I'm crying. And I see that observer part of me has started accepting, I'm crying, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong about it, there's nothing right about it. On the other hand, yes, it is slow moving energy. So here comes, how COO has been giving us some questions in this particular answer, which is, okay, now that, okay, I have cried, I have let that go. Now, can I have a different perspective around this entire thing? Usually this is where a conversation between me and Sabrina happens, most likely. So I might sit, observe me crying, and all of that story drama is over. And then I might put a voice note to Sabrina saying, guess what, Sabrina, I cried today. And this is what it is. Do you have a different perspective around it, right? So that when she shares with me a different 5D perspective around it, and then I start feeling, oh yeah, now that fast flowing thing happens. So this is what I see, literally, realistically speaking, practically, this is what I see myself doing these days, right? In that present moment, whatever emotion comes up, let it flow. Let yourself feel that anger, feel that sadness, whatever it is. Okay, and then there would be a moment where it feels like, okay, now I feel like that is done, right? That anger has kind of flown through me. That sadness has flown through me. My crying at one point in time, you might stop crying. That's when we come back into consciousness, so to speak. And maybe now we are ready to look at it and see if there is a different perspective that I can see, so that I can shift the slow moving perspective and bring up a fast flowing perspective. So that's my approach. Over to you, Sabrina.
Yes, and as I was listening to you, one thing came up, as you, Vishnupriya, said, like letting everything flow. We were talking about the negative parts of the emotions and the thoughts, but that is also true for the positive parts. Because often this whole idea of, oh, the negative parts, we should focus on them and there's so much deeper meaning in it. We forget that there's also the fast flowing sensation of energy and how beautiful it actually is, and that we can also fully embrace that and let it happen and be excited in the moment, or fully love in the moment, or have a lot of fun in the moment. So it's really the entire spectrum that we should allow ourselves to feel, because that is the most beautiful, most amazing representation of the energy flow of this entire universe, of the process, how it goes. So that was something that just came up as I was listening to us speaking here. And otherwise, I see myself do exactly what Vishnupriya is doing, just observing the emotion while allowing myself to feel whatever it is that comes up. And then I put a voice note, most likely, and tell Vishnupriya what has happened. But of course, you will have other methods. You will maybe have other people in your life that you can talk to, that you can connect with. You can find other spaces where you can express whatever is going on. Whenever we have that, that flow of energy is pointing us towards something, and if this topic really, kind of pulls you, you will find people to talk with about this. So if you're listening to this and say like, oh, but I don't have anyone to discuss this with, definitely that person will show up once, you get into this flow, like, oh yeah, I really want to try this out. Anything to add, Vishnupriya?
Yes, and if you don't have anybody, just join us in our 5D coffee meets.
Yes.
we are we are here to listen to your complaints about life, and that's why we even created the coffee meets, right? Because,
Mhm.
well, we know that there isn't a lot of people in the world who can really look at us from a non-judgmental space and tell us that, oh, looks like, if you shift this perspective, maybe this is going to help you, right? This is why we were even in the first place, we started the 5D living experiment, and then recently we added the 5D coffee meets, because this is exactly what we do in the coffee meets. Bring up all your stories, bring up whatever questions, challenges, emotions, whatever it is, and it's a space where we kind of practice looking at everything from that beauty perspective rather than the judgments as we usually receive from most of the people out there. And once we can start seeing the beauty in all emotions that we have, in all sorts of life situations that comes through, slowly but steadily, I see that everything is shifting and changing. Even the life itself is starting to shift, even though I'm not really expecting or waiting for it to shift and change. So, more on that in our upcoming videos as we go into advanced questions. So, I hope this video helped. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And if you're interested, join us for the 5D living experiment. Simply contact us. All right. Thank
Yes.
you, all of you. See you in the next video.
Thank you all. See you.